Well, it sounds like and looks like we have almost everybody. So, welcome to this July edition of the State of the Castle. Quick show of hands. Anybody here for the first time? Teresa Jenkins, here for the first time. All right. Teresa just wanted to make sure you were all aware she will be presenting today. So, we're all going to be looking forward to that. Of course, I'm Tyler, our Executive Director. You can see we have a pretty full agenda, so we may just jump right into it. Don't know if we're going to get buzzed by the Thunderbirds during the presentation, so that I cannot control from a noise standpoint. So we'll work through it. So without further ado, we're going to welcome Joe to give a resident council update. Joe, take it away. And apologize, we had to call an audible at the last minute. We do have a problem with the sound system. We know the solution, but the solution could not be done prior to. So Evan and Scott worked rigorously so that we didn't have to shout today, and we went to the portable sound system. So thank you, Evan.
Hello, hello, hello. Is that better? Okay. I have a couple of things. The first thing is, I want to remind you, if you have an idea for a program or a speaker or a music group or a whatever, these forms are at the desk in the main library. You need to complete the form. It gives us all the contact information, all that sort of thing. Turn it in at the front desk until ask them to place it in Evan's mailbox. That's my first thing.
What's the form called?
It's called the Proposed Event Program Plan. And it's in a file. There's a basket on the table where you sign up for the podiatrist and so forth. There's a basket and it's in a file in that basket. Okay. The next thing is has to do with the decor committee. Because we now have a committee and they're working their way through the building to take the work that the designers did and make it possibly a little more home-like for us. And so they started in Bradford Terrace lobby about a week ago. They found 2 wonderful collage pictures, historical collections that they were able to add to that in there. There will be signage to go with to identify the different pictures. What we're asking of you is that you please not start rearranging things on your own. Please leave it. If you have an idea for rearranging something, please go to the committee. Margaret Shaler is the chair of that committee. Please go to her and make your suggestion. Or you can talk to me about it. My last thing has to do with the election. I want to remind you that in the handbook it says no signage, no promotion of a specific candidate or position. We are a very diverse and some would say opinionated community. So I am asking you to be respectful of each other's position when it comes to voting, whether for a candidate or for a referendum on the August ballot. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Joe. Next on the agenda is Lindsay Dude, our Associate Executive Director.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. What a beautiful day we have. So I have 2 questions for this month. The first question is, can we have a COVID update? Wow, I didn't think that would be on my agenda. I thought we'd suppress that feeling. Oh, I'm just kidding. But for COVID, we are doing great. We have not had much COVID in the building, if any at all, and that's why there hasn't been much of an update. So no news in that aspect is good news. In the past 3 months, we've only had 2 employees with COVID. And the beauty of that is we still do our contact tracing with our nursing department and our infection control, and they were obviously not work-related. So it's individuals out in the community who, are going about their daily lives and electing to test themselves with the at-home tests or the rapid tests that they do have. We have not had any residents in the past 3 months test positive for COVID, so that is fantastic news. At this time, we still are obviously not wearing masks, and the healthcare areas are no longer wearing masks either, and that is because of the changes for infection control procedures, and then obviously monitoring and tracking. We did have our Southeastern Wisconsin state nurse infection preventionist on site who met with GMA and toured the community 2 weeks ago for about a half day and looked at all of our policies and procedures. And she gave GMA and the team in nursing for infection control a lot of kudos for their comprehensive plan, monitoring, tracking, and policies. So you should feel very confident in the practices of the nursing team from an infection control standpoint that they did get the blessing from our big boss from the state. Yeah?
Would you define GMA?
Thank you. I work with GMA all the time, so it's second nature. So GMA is our nurse manager for Bradford Terrace. She usually offices out of and predominantly is in our health center. She is offices right across from the nurses station on the 4th floor of Bradford Terrace. So Jima's worked here around 13 years as a floor nurse and has been a nurse manager now for 2 years. So you've probably seen her a time or two, whether she's responded to your apartment or you've seen her in the halls. But she is our nurse manager and infection preventionist. Good question. Any other questions on COVID? Teresa will be talking about, because flu season, hard to believe, will be up and coming, and there will be a vaccine clinic, and that will include the, 3 vaccines offerings of RSV, COVID update, as well as the flu shot. And then my next question is, what is Heartfelt Connections Memory Care Program mentioned on the East Castle website? So Heartfelt Connection is an LCS program that we've adopted and their communities who serve a memory care population have adopted and implement to give additional training, direction for our staff, and more meaning and purpose, obviously, for those who are suffering with memory care loss, memory loss, as well as Alzheimer's or dementia. So it's a specialized program specific to those with Alzheimer's or memory loss that our staff get additional training. There's alternate programming that our staff are able to offer and provide from activities, and different best practices that we're able to adopt and better implement here at the community. Any questions on that? No? Any other questions for me? Otherwise, I will pass it over to Evan. All right, Evan.
Good afternoon, everyone. I have 2 questions and then 2 quick announcements. So the first question is, could we get a dubbing class on computers? So I guess if there's specific questions or classes or we have some bigger need, please come to me. But we have we have a Mac support group. I don't know how many people are going to that. Anyone going to that already? Wonderful. And our IT Open office. So those are the 2nd and 4th Thursdays and Fridays. It's on the back of the calendar. So if there's any, if there's something that comes out of that that's a bigger need, we can definitely do a class. The second question is, give us more information on voting registration. So the special voting delegates were here on Monday. Did anyone register Monday? A couple people, wonderful. So I will give you guys some information on how to vote. There was an email that went out today. Did you guys get that? Wonderful. So we will have the SVDs coming here to assist in voting on those dates. One is in August. and the other is in October before the November election. So you need to be registered 10 days prior with the SVDs if you want to vote here at East Castle. So obviously, if you want to take a ride to the polls, we're going to offer that as well. But as far as registration, they will not be back out to assist registering. Scott and I, however, will have a few classes in September and October to assist you if there's any questions, but the voting commission itself will not be out. Any questions with those questions? Yes?
I was under the impression that we vote across the street at the Maryland Montessori School.
So the SVDs are more, we have them in place to help more of our Bradford Terrace folks who cannot physically get out of the building as easy, but they also come in to assist some independent living if they want to vote that way as well. As far as the Montessori school goes, I'm not sure if that's the voting place yet, but last election it was. It is. Wonderful. Wonderful. And then I have 2 announcements. So I sent out another email. I know you guys are all tired of my emails, or maybe you're not. We have the last day to sign up for our road cruise is today at 3 p.m. So after this, I'll stick around. If you're interested in a last minute sign up, please let me know. We're looking forward to it. Lots of fun. Mr. Haubrick is going to be giving us a guided tour. There's going to be appetizers, drinks. Very excited. Praying for good weather, right? The second announcement is that the book club is hosting Christina Clancy, author, after this meeting at 3 o'clock. So please stick around to see her. She is I believe she was in the USA Today for her book recently. So very popular author. Thank you to Pat Geiger for setting that up and the book club for setting that up. Any other questions for me? Yes?
I'm voting. I just heard that the school is where we vote for in August, but it won't be in November.
So I have not got that information yet. As soon as I get that information, we'll pass that on. Yeah. The question was that she heard that August will be at the Montessori school, November, not sure where that voting will be. So we are not aware of that either if there's been a change, but we'll obviously keep you guys looped into communications. Scott and I are communicating, recently, weekly, with our SVDs at the voting commission. So we have their direct numbers, haven't heard anything yet, but as we get the information, we'll pass it on. Mr. Flynn.
Can we assume that we're registered if we are ballots and we sent those in? I guess the other thing is, our address has been right for some time, and is there anything we need to look at as far as?
So there is a website. It's I just want to make sure I get it right here. It's plastered all over, and we put it on the ledges, but it is, I can't read my notes here. I believe it's mychoice.wi.gov. myvote.wi.gov. Perfect. So I can send that out in the e-blast as well. You should have got that today in the e-blast, but you can physically go on there and see where you're registered at. And if you're registered at East Castle. Yeah. And you can also register on the website. Judy. The question was basically, how can I check if I'm registered? So there is a website, myvote.wi.gov, which was in the email today, where you can physically go there and go to that website, check if you're registered, see if you're at the right address. I know we had some new folks who moved in, so make sure you are. Again, Scott and I will have a few sessions in September and October to help you. If there's further questions, we can go right then and there to see where you're registered if you're all set to go. You're welcome. Any other questions? All right. I feel blessed to hand it off to Teresa for the first time ever, her first State of the Castle.
As you should.
All right, Teresa. Good afternoon, everyone.
As Lindsay mentioned, the flu clinic this year will be scheduled for October the 16th. Obviously, more information will come. We'll be doing flu clinic, COVID clinic, and RSV clinic, all in one day, October 16th, 9 a.m. in this room. But postings will come to remind everybody. I also just wanted to give everyone a quick update that if you will be utilizing the audiology mobile van services, they will be here August 6th, but they will not be providing earwax cleaning services. Their mobile van is not set up for that service. If you have an appointment with them and you have a small amount of wax in your ear, they will take care of that, but they will not be doing any deep wax cleaning. So they do recommend that you see your physician for that service. How many people will be utilizing the audiology mobile? Good. Yes, ma'am.
There are no openings on it until October.
Yeah. And so, yeah, they're full, so which is a good thing. So that if your name is on there and they haven't reached out to you, they will reach out to you moving forward. I only had those 2 items. Does anybody have any questions for me? Yes.
I don't have a question, but I did want to mention, I recently purchased a great test at Fitzgerald Pharmacy on Silver Spring. It tells you whether you have the flu or COVID.
Okay.
And North Shore does not carry them. I called them, they don't have them, but they do have them at Fitzgerald's. And I used it once and came up negative, but a fast response.
Oh, okay. The comment was that she purchased a test over at Fitzgerald where she could take the flu and the COVID test in one shot. So that is available out there at Fitzgerald's Pharmacy. Any other questions for me? Any other comments for me?
Good job.
We do not give shots here at East. What kind of shots?
Well, give shots,
No.
regular ones.
No shots. We just have the clinic for the flu and COVID and RSV. That's the only shot clinic that we'll have. But any other shot outside of that, we don't do. Any other questions for me? No? My birthday was last week. Oh, there you go.
You're really getting lights on that. We've been celebrating Teresa all month. Know what's going to happen in August.
35 years. Not for me. Well, that's all. Eric is next. Here you go, Eric.
Thank you, Teresa.
You're welcome.
Before we get into questions, I want to thank everyone for your understanding and accommodations to getting these new apartments for the air conditioning maintenance over the past couple weeks. That is buttoned up, minus a few corridor units we have to get to. Into the questions. First of those is 4 chairs and 2 umbrellas are needed for the rooftop garden. We'll make note of that and we will add those to the rooftop garden. Our next question is, could we put some daffodil bulbs in the ground in the south garden this fall? We are looking at putting some bulbs in the ground. Whoever put that request may want to see me for the exact location of them so I can put it into consideration. Next question, please explain how to get into the historic building with no D elevator. So just to give a little more clarity to that, the D elevator had an annual testing last Tuesday, so they have to do it every 5 years to measure the weight capacity and that it holds pressure in the cylinder at each floor. It took about 4 hours to complete that testing. That was completely unrelated. Friday, though, it did go down. The tech came out and decided it was a circuit board, replaced the circuit board. Unfortunately, we learned on Monday that it was the new circuit board that was the problem. That old circuit board, the second one, created new problems that they had to chase down for a while to try to get sorted out. So it's really tough when you get poor, or I should say not working parts from the factory. So they made that permanent repair on Monday and it hasn't been a problem since. While it was down, we had some confusion as to how to get between the buildings. Just a reminder, the main reason that the ramp was installed next to the D elevator was exactly for that purpose. Because in past years when the D elevator would go down, some folks that couldn't get up and down stairs had a real tough time getting through. So the key place is this ground level, so contemporary ground or North Point Terrace ground level here. Through the ramp gets you into ground level of historic. And from there they can make it over to Lake Terrace, take elevator E or F to whatever floor they're on in historic, and then backtrack a little bit to their apartment. Yes.
Could signs be put up occasionally, visitors or people?
Signage is tough. So there was signage up that kind of directed folks. I'm not sure everybody read the signage. Not to mention there are signage throughout the property that do kind of detail where those locations are. I just think kind of when people are overwhelmed at the moment, they're not seeing the signs, they're not helping maybe to the degree that they folks would like during those instances.
Well, I think it was a great idea that those little arrows were put up.
Yeah.
That was put up by a resident.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, it could be something that simple that when we have an incident, we could then have laminated signs that could be just tacked up and people can follow them. Yeah.
Okay.
Just a suggestion.
Let's see here, the next one. We would appreciate an update what will be done with the non-functional heat lamps in the bathrooms of Lake Terrace. A little bit more specifics there. The heat lamps aren't in the best locations. Sometimes they're not exactly where you'd like them in the bathroom, and then the amount of heat that they're throwing is up for debate, at least. So we've reached out to CG Schmidt. I did reach out to them again this week to see if I can get an appointment with them to have them come out and look at what other alternatives there are. It's a tough one to work through, but we'll stay after it with CG and see what options we can come up with. Last one, could the lighting and sound levels be improved in the dining room to accommodate those that are sight and hearing impaired? Also improve the lighting in the Lindsay Hall for brighter access. I think it'd probably be a secondary meeting with those that are in I think it's the visually impaired group, just to get a better sense of maybe what we're trying to achieve. I do feel the lighting's pretty good in here, but not exactly sure what levels they need to be. I think in the dining room, it's more relative to an individual versus the entire dining room, both sound levels and light. You can certainly ask your waiter or waitress, and they'll be able to try and accommodate those requests. Any other questions? Yes?
I was helping a visitor the other day go out to the courtyard through the new door opener. At that point, the door opener wasn't cooperating very well, so I was holding the door open for him, and his wheelchair would not fit. Is that an issue that's likely to be important here, and can something be done about it?
A wheelchair not fitting, we can't adjust the door frame size, so I'm not sure that we'll be able to accommodate that. As far as the door brighter, wasn't turned on until today. So
Well, that's why it wasn't working so
that
good.
would be why. Yeah, they came into the installation, but we had the problem with a double door like that is you can't install an electronic strike on that secondary door. So those swing operators aren't really designed for double doors, but we worked it to make an accommodation so we could get one installed. So we'll be installing a deadbolt in there to make sure it's secured at night is the key point.
I have
Yes.
a comment. That new East Castle place signage that we have, unfortunately, because of the fence, the rods, you can't see it, and also you can't really see it, well, you can't see it from the street, but there are plants that are bigger than, taller than that, so it can't be seen, and it's beautiful, but I was wondering why it wasn't just a little higher, so that you could have it seen.
Take a look at it. I think the design plans are, the problem now is it's installed.
Yeah,
So any additional adjustments are additional money is how that typically works.
yeah.
So I think right now we're living with what we have. We can take a closer look at maybe swapping out some plantings to get some lower, I wouldn't say ground cover, but lower sprouting plants in front of the sign so we're not blocking anything. But with the fencing, there's not a lot we can do. You'd have to raise it up quite a bit to kind of clear the fence line, I think.
Would there be any kind of, say, lighting in the evening and at night?
I don't think at this time we're going to add any lighting out there.
Okay.
You'd have to trench out.
Okay.
We don't need to tear up any more lawn than we already have in the
No, no.
past couple of years. Mr. Judy in the back.
What was the question?
I'm sorry, the question was relative to the gazebo garden. There was a new land and stone wall that was curvature that was put in to add some dimension to the garden area. One of the small additions they've done that, I don't know if we're regretting at this point, is putting some East Castle signage there. And so the visibility of the East Castle signage is kind of the question, is the height of the plants in front of it and the visibility through the fence line. Sorry about that. Yes.
Also, it could be a different color. The color just fits right in with the stone. I mean, it's hard to see it. It doesn't attract you at all.
I think it was meant to be a subtle addition. I don't think it was supposed to be East Castle Place and here's the lighting. I think subtle, very subtle addition. I think if you go about another 50 feet down, the big East Castle sign is more clearly meant for that purpose. Nancy? Nancy?
Thank you, yes. I'm wondering if there is a timetable for taking out the concrete in the patio for the garden?
Out here?
Yes.
Okay, I'll let that, because I do have the schedule. I don't think the memo's gone out yet, so you're hearing here first. We're looking at the week of August 5th.
Okay.
So that week, Monday through Friday, possibly the following Monday, we will need that time to be able to do the work out there.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I know there's lots of humidity now, but I'm wondering if there's any discussion about, or any plans for doing something about the humidity in apartments in our building?
Lake Terrace, you mean? The question was relative to the humidity the humidity levels in the Lake Terrace building. We're still waiting from the contractor to hear back from a firm price. They've gone through a couple different options with us. The last one has got to be located in a storage room, and it's a gas-fired humidifier. It would pipe humidity into the air handler as an alternative. So once we've had pricing back, we'll be able to give more clear explanations now. Yes, John?
I noticed when I walked this morning that the gazebo garden does not look like it's been watered, and I'm wondering if somebody watering it regularly. Somebody else told me too that they were concerned about it.
I think I'll go take a look. I mean, they are watering it regularly. I check on them to make sure that all the new plantings are getting watered, along with the other water runs, the other annuals and the pots around here. But I'll check in on it.
Yeah. Somebody needs to trim those daisies out by the two front of the driveway so they bloom. Otherwise, they should be done now. Otherwise, they're gonna die off.
Susan?
There's one half-dead brown evergreen on the north side.
Oh, the gazebo garden?
Yes.
Yep. We're aware. We've talked to the
Very
contractor in there.
evident if you're walking in.
Oh, no, we're aware. Yeah, the contractor's come to replace it. We're waiting for him to come back to replace it for us. Yep. Okay, moving along. Next one is Mike Brewer.
I have one more question. When's KEI gonna remove the dead trees that are out here?
We've been in touch with them. We're trying to get them scheduled. Yep.
Thank you, Eric. I don't have near the presentation that Eric does. I very rarely get up here and speak at length. But I do want to begin by wishing a very happy birthday to Teresa. Last week, found out it was my birthday in April, and no one said anything about that. But happy birthday, Teresa. I do have a presentation about our 140th anniversary gala coming up, but I have a couple things involving philanthropy first. First of all, I want to thank once again Liz Roosh for her donation of that electric lift chair, the Lazy Boy type lift chair. We did have the raffle drawing on July 8th. The winner of the chair was a member of our board of directors. If you've been down to the treasure chest lately, you see it's still there. We're just waiting for George to come and pick it up. If you're familiar with the chair, you know that there is some substance to it. It's designed so that people won't slip or the chair won't move as you're trying to get up or out of it. George needs a pickup truck to get it home. And he's working with his nephew. So we'll keep you updated about that. But again, thanks to Liz Roosh. All the proceeds from the raffle go to the treasure chest. We did announce to the staff 2 weeks ago that the treasure chest scholarship is now available, the forms at least. The forms are due back to me by August 9th. If you know any of the staff that you think might be eligible for a scholarship, feel free to mention to them that they should come and see me. Thus far, we have 7 staff that have taken on an application. I have another one that has told me they will be coming to see me in order to pick one up. The treasure chest thus far has raised $15,600 this year to give out scholarships. Yeah, actually that's a record for a 12-month cycle. We are very, very pleased. For those of you that are keeping track, have you all been to the treasure chest downstairs? You've donated things. How many of you have donated things to the treasure chest? How many of you are volunteers? Keep those hands up. How many of you are volunteers at the treasure chest? Put your hands up. How many of you have shopped at the treasure chest? Put your hands up. This is a community-wide thing, and I'm very grateful to all of you. If you're familiar with the treasure chest, I'm going to tell you a number that I think you'll find somewhat surprising. To date, we've raised $78,000 to award scholarships to our hourly employees. Quite an achievement for all of you, and my hat's off to all of you. And to Jane and all of her volunteers, it's just an amazing thing. I also would like to thank in particular Pat Dunn and Mickey Pollard. They both contributed money this year to award specific scholarships. Mickey is going to be targeting her scholarships towards the medical field. A CNA maybe going to become an LPN to become an RN, something like that. Pat Dunn is targeting her scholarship donation towards people seeking technical degrees. So those have been donated, and we are very, very grateful to both of them. Yeah, thank you. I think that's all I had leading up to it. We do have, in fact, our gala coming up. We do this every 5 years. 5 years ago we had it. It was held at the Westin. This is the hall that we had set up at the Westin. The Westin is downtown on Van Buren Street. We were really pleased to be able to go there. If you were around in 1884, oh, I know that. We actually started on Van Buren Street. We were about 6 blocks away from where the Westin is. So we went back to our roots 5 years ago. This year, we are going to be going to St. Kate's The Arts Hotel. If you aren't familiar with it, it is downtown, directly across from City Hall. My son-in-law is an attorney with Hupy and Abraham. If you've ever had to use their services, same building. There's underground parking there if you choose to drive yourself. But East Castle Place will, in fact, be providing transportation that night. 5 years ago, we had so many residents that wanted to go. We had 2 vans that had to make 2 trips each. So, we asked people to be a little bit patient. Some had to get there a little bit early. Some had to stay a little bit late. But we got everybody there. We got everybody back. We didn't lose anybody on the way. So it was a good time. Everybody really enjoyed it. In addition to the dinner itself, we will have the return of our East Castle Place labeled wine. 5 years ago, we had Pinot Grigio and Cabernet Sauvignon. This year, we have Chardonnay and Cabernet Sauvignon. Those will be available that night for $25 a bottle. It is the special East Castle Place logo. We get them from our good friend Rob Lewis at Lewis Station Winery in Lake Mills, Wisconsin. We go out there every year and we get our 10 cases, and he lets us put our label on them. Fabulous wine. You're really going to enjoy it. We also, this year, unlike 5 years ago, we have a resurgence of the East Castle Place cookbook. Those of you how many of you donated recipes to the cookbook? Raise your hands. Good. Those of you who didn't, buy a book. You'll find out what everybody was raving about. I'd like to thank Maureen Scribner. She really is doing a fabulous job on this. These are all going to be available that night. So she took all of your input and she's going to turn it into a master creation. I've had a couple questions from people about why is it going to be black tie? Or actually, it's black tie optional. I thought we'd show you a couple pictures from 5 years ago to show you. The reason why it's going to be black tie optional is because it's fun. But before we get there, I want to remind you our host and MC for the night is John McGivern. He'll be doing his program for us. I believe he'll actually be joining us for dinner as well. But leading into the dinner, we We had some live music entertainment, some background music, if you will. We're going to have the same thing again this year at St. Kate's, the Arts Hotel. For those of you that are interested, arrival begins at 5 o'clock. I think, Maureen, help me out. Is it 6 o'clock we sit down? Okay. So for an hour, you'll be able to enjoy live music. We'll also have a bar there as well. Each of you is going to receive a free drink at the bar, and then as many other ones as you care for. But again, why is it going to be black tie optional? Because people had fun. You know, here we get Denny and Jake. I'm sorry if some of the photos I'm going to be showing you bring up some sad memories of some wonderful people in the past, but they had a great time that night. And so I'm going to show the photos anyways. Denny and Jake, they just looked lovely that night. We had the Bachmans that night dressed up to the nines. Really, you could look this good on September 14th as well. We also had our really good friends from LCS. They joined us that night. This year they bought a table, so we're going to have 8 folks from LCS joining us. If you have any family or friends from out of town that you think might want to join us, we have a block of rooms reserved that night at St. Kate's also. So they'll be able to stay right at the hotel overnight. I know the LCS folks were all out of town, and they did stay at the Westin. Some of our board members showed up. In fact, I think all the board members showed up. And as you see, they got into the spirit. We also had, one slipped in. We had some photos of staff members who showed up, really got into the spirit as well. Some folks that lived with us at the time, Rita Edwards, the Huxtables, Lavona and Dick, really got into the spirit as well. They all had a great time. You'll still recognize some of these faces. Some of them have regrettably passed on, but they were all lovely people, and they all had a great time that night. Again, some more shots of the crowd. And it'll be very similar at St. Kate's as well. There's some, the 2 people on the right are very attractive. The one on the left, he snuck into the picture somehow. I don't remember how. But there you have David and Marion. Just, they looked lovely that night. This is why it's going to be black tie optional. Do you have to wear a formal? Do you have to wear a tux? No. You don't have to do that. Just dress up. Come, have a good time. You know, we had some staff that were with us that night as well. Everybody had a really, really good time. As the audience filled up into the dining room, you can see the tables were tables of 8. This year we're going to have tables of 8, 9, or 10, depending on how many of you want to sit at a particular table. It really filled in the evening. We had 199 people sign up 5 years ago. 192 showed up. This is not something that you sign up for and you don't attend. If you sign up, we hope you will be able to join us. We had a packed house that night. Tyler and his lovely wife were there as well. Again, getting into the spirit of the thing. You'll notice a lot of the people had somewhat matching decor. Tyler has his pocket square and his wife have the same color dress on. There you go, really getting into the spirit of things. We also, 5 years ago, and this year, will be giving out some awards. A donor or 2 might get an award from us. A board member or 2 might be retiring. So those types of things will happen as well. We want you to come. We want you to have a good time. We have set a price for the night. We've decided, however, in consultation with Tyler, we had a lengthy conversation with him. We decided that although this is in fact a fundraiser for our residents, this will be a friend-raiser. Our residents will get to come at our cost of sponsoring the dinner. People from outside East Castle Place will cost $100 to come. Our true cost for the evening is $75, and that's what we're going to charge you residents for coming. So we hope you all will come and recognize that this is an opportunity for you to share a sense of camaraderie, share in a 140-year history of a Milwaukee institution, and I think you're just going to have a great time. You will be getting paper invitations, actually card invitations, on your shelves sometime next week. People were getting emailed invitations today, but not you folks. You will get one on your ledge. You can come see me. You can go see the folks in marketing. You can pay by check. You can pay by cash. You can also use the app, the East Castle Place app, to sign up if you want to as well. When you sign up, you're going to have to tell us your dinner reservations. There's really, really fancy names to this. Really fancy names. But it's chicken, steak, it's fish, and it's a vegan dish. So, you know, if you want chicken, steak, fish, or vegan, just remember, it's white crusted almond, chicken, steak, fish, and vegan, and you'll love it.
It's gonna be a great one, everybody.
Yeah, we're hoping to see you all there. Yes?
I'd like to point out that our daughter is starting her residency at the St. Kate.
Really?
She will be there, so it's an incredible honor. So bring your checkbooks.
Okay. For those of you at home watching, or for those of you who didn't hear it, David Woodard is pointing out that his daughter is starting a residency at St. Kate's. And it'll be it is a great honor for her to be doing that, and hopefully we'll get a chance to see her that night, right?
She'll be the artist in residence.
She'll be the artist in residence at St. Kate's. Yes?
How do people, if they want to make up a table, how do they tell you that?
Well, first of all, what you do is, you know, in signing up, you could let Maureen know, you could let myself know, or you could let our folks in marketing that there are table mates that you would like to be joined with. We will be doing assigned seating for the evening. So if we know in advance that you have 7 friends who are going to make up a table of 8, we will ensure that that takes place. Which brings up a good point. And I encourage you not to delay when you get your invitation. We have 17 sponsors for the evening. One of the benefits we're providing to our sponsors is, depending on the level, they either get 2 complimentary dinners, 4 complimentary dinners, or a table of 8. We already have 85 seats spoken for the night. So, you know, we want to make sure if you want to come that you get in. So don't delay when you get your RSVP information. Any other questions?
Mike, what's the date?
The date is September 14th. September 14th, it's a Saturday evening. And again, we will be providing transportation that night, or there is underground parking at St. Kate's, the Arts Hotel. It actually goes down like 6 levels. We're going to talk to the hotel about signage at the different parking levels to get you up to the hotel. Once you get there, the parking structure, you got to walk through a lobby, get into the hotel, then take a second bank of elevators to get up. But it'll be like the game of Clue. Secret passages everywhere, and we'll get you there. Any other questions? All right, thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Mike. A lot of information. We will hold the quiz after, so hopefully everybody took notes. No, really appreciate Mike and the committee that Mike is working with, which includes Lindsay, Maureen, and Anna, as well as a few other folks that are putting this event together for you and for our friends to celebrate our incredible history. With that, I have a couple of resident questions as well as a couple of announcements. So, our family, first one is our family used the guest suite. Twin beds would be so much better rather than a large size tables and full size bed. It would accommodate 2 unmarried adults. I've taken that feedback and again, kind of done some consulting with our front desk, as well as looked at the reservations for how they're being set up. We do have cots available for those unmarried folks, but at this time, we are pretty much going to stay the course with the full-size bed due to just the utilization and who's utilizing that guest suite. I was thinking bunk beds, but thought maybe that would be as appropriate, although the room for activities would be incredible. All right, so no, not twin beds. We're going to stick with the course that we are at. Resident question number 2. Maybe some of our residents who are talented artists could design an attractive and more informative map at or the elevators and entrances. I believe, and I don't want to speak out of turn, but I did speak with Anna. We are working on a campus map. And so I believe she has a meeting with Joe Schmidt and the Communications Committee Monday, maybe, give or take, a week from, to work through that and to get your input on what makes sense, because who better than you as residents to show kind of what that map is in the complexity of this building. I think that would also go to, I think maybe Susan, it was you who asked about visitors and signage. And again, signage is one of those sticky wickets to a degree as to, you know, again, there's always opportunities, but a campus map is going to be a really good starting point, I think, for us. So more to follow on there. Next resident question. It seems like we have some constant Spectrum issues. Who would have thought that Spectrum would appear on the agenda? Losing Wi-Fi connection. I want to stop there. Spectrum does not provide our Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi is provided in-house through our system that we monitor. We are currently aware of an intermittent slow speed intermittent outage that our third-party vendor DigiCorp is working on, and it's really affecting the second and third floor of the North Point Terrace buildings, 05-07-ish area. We are actively seeking a solution to get you back up to a normal speed, so I think that may be specific to this question, as I am not aware of major Wi-Fi outages in the campus. If there is, or if there's something that's not clicking for you, go ahead, call the front desk, put a work order in. Joe Petoskey will come and see you, or you can do that on the app as well.
Fourth floor goes out too.
Fourth floor?
Yeah, my one part of our apartment goes out where I watch TV.
Okay. So I'm hearing just some scattered Wi-Fi. I do know the fourth floor North Point, that may be similar to the issue we're working on. The larger apartments, we may need to add a booster to. So if you haven't or if that's been more recent, we've had to do that to accommodate some of the larger apartments because the signal strength is only so strong. And again, unfortunately, it is technology. And again, it is something that we do monitor. And we do now have complete control of the system, which is better than having to call a third-party person to flip a switch on their end so that we can flip a switch on our end. So we'll continue to enhance and provide that as part of your monthly service fee. Again, if you're still unsatisfied with the standard, there are options and we can work through that with you. Pat, did you
I
have?
just wanted to add to that. My TV's out right now, Spectrum.
Okay.
And I haven't had a problem with Spectrum until they came in and fixed it.
So,
I would like to mention to you that they give you a telephone number to call, and the statement that they have is that you're not paying your bills.
interesting.
I know, you're not paying
So,
your bills.
so we'll go to the second part.
Yes.
When is the Spectrum contract going to be signed? I signed that on Monday of this week when they finally got it to me, after I think 6 weeks of hounding them. And then for some reason they said the RNC impacted their operations last week, so there was no communication from them last week. In that same regard, we are aware that there is some of the older DTA boxes that have intermittently been going out. So if you have that in a second bedroom, but Spectrum's working on one TV and not another, that's going to be the issue, and Eric's been diligent in trying to work through them essentially getting those back up. Because again, we've worked as diligently, as quickly as possible. Spectrum, unfortunately, has not, although they've run it up through, I think now we're at the third leadership chain of Spectrum, whatever that means. At the end of the day, we've now re-involved in outside, or the initial contractor that worked on Spectrum to get them installed in Lake Terrace. I want to assure you that Eric, myself, Joe Petoskey are working as diligently and as quickly and as pesterly as possible with Spectrum cable. Although we are a large account, we are not the largest account, nor are we their only customers. So we're working at the speed of Spectrum, unfortunately, to a degree. That's also why I still don't have channel 28 or the Golf channel, which hopefully we were able to watch the Open on USA and NBC last week, because I know I was. And then the Turner Movie Classic channels, as opposed to the MTV, which I think we might have, but I'm not sure how many of you are watching MTV. Turner Movie Classics is still not up into the normal box. So with the signed contract on Monday, and with some of the spectrum issues we've been having, Eric and I have been reaching out almost daily to Spectrum to say, these are issues, we need to get them worked out. I've signed a contract, I'm expecting that bill's gonna come, and yes, we are paying our bills. You all are, so we in turn do that as well. But when they say you haven't paid your account, it's either because they can't find you actually have an account, so they're making an assumption that you just have not paid your account. You don't pay your Spectrum bills unless you have a separate system. East Castle pays that, it's a bulk account, so technically I own that on behalf of all of you. So that's why they may not be as apt to speak with you, because technically I'm the contract owner of that bulk account for East Castle Place. Now I'm not the only one that knows the account number, I'm not the only one that knows how to work and navigate that system. Eric is probably more fluent than he wants to be right now in that. But we are working as diligently as possible on your behalf to get through these Spectrum issues, including installing that second box, which that contract on Monday, since they got it to me, has allowed them to now go to their other department leadership up the chain, which has been told to me 3 different times, to get us scheduled to install the additional 212 boxes that are now coming to East Castle Place. And that's another thing we have to work through with you all. Dave?
Why did they just shut us down on our second?
So, good question. The question is, why did they just shut us down? Because that's what Spectrum did. So Spectrum did that to all of their customers to force the transition for those that don't. However, they didn't tell their customers they were going to do that. When they didn't shut it down, customers were calling them saying, hey, my cable's not working. Then they would say, well, do you have the upgraded box? The customer would say no, and then they'd say, okay, we'll schedule you in 1 to 2 weeks to get out and update your box. That's why we went through the process, 6-8 weeks ago already, to do that ahead of these issues where they're just randomly shutting off tiers of boxes, and it's got no rhyme or reason, and Spectrum also doesn't have a rhyme or reason for how they're shutting down the boxes. So that's why we were proactive in at least getting the one box, which had we known what we needed to do, we would have gotten the second box already in the contract, but they never made mention of that to us. Their technicians were actually the ones that found out as they were doing the initial install, I believe at Sandra Meyer's apartment that day. They're like, oh, you have to sign a new contract. So they're able to install the one box, but the secondary box is where we had to update the contract.
So there's nothing Eric can do now?
Eric's,
I mean, no sense in putting in a work order?
well,
That's-
probably,
Keeping track of it, so
We're-
if you have it, keep track.
so to Eric's credit, when, we had 6 apartments go down this week. And unfortunately, some of those were Bradford Terrace residents that only had the one box. So we are keeping track of that. Eric's been able to pull some strings with some customer service reps that are able to work with us and get the switches back turned on, but that's not been 100%. And again, because it's kind of based on what the expertise of the technician or customer service representative is. Eric is that semi-accurate. So feel free to put in a work order. We will work, and we have notified, and I have a guy named Carlos and a gentleman named Gary. Those are our 2 guys we're really reliant upon. And they know us because we are talking to them daily. So, yes, Pat?
I was just going to question, so does that mean that because they advertise that no one goes without lights, no one goes without TVs, because of Spectrum's wonderful management, that we should perhaps look at false advertising?
We could go down that road. Let's have a conversation offline before we do that. Yes? In the back, yep.
Yeah. Are these problems coming sporadically to, say, just one TV area at a time, or is it happening to several of them in the same area?
So the question is it sporadic to every other TV, or is it like a section? And generally it's sporadic. Now this last shutdown, it seems like it was a section that affected primarily Radford Terrace, but the DTA boxes have kind of gone and bounced around back and forth because, well, it wasn't working, so we're able to swap it. So it goes by serial numbers that Spectrum has that they just all of a sudden say, okay, these are the ones being shut down. Usually on like a Friday at 5, of course. So, but it is sporadic because, again, your main big box that was upgraded should not shut down. It is only your secondary TV with the black little box that is the one that needs to be upgraded, that we are actively working on to get installed for you so that we don't have these issues. Now, I don't want to talk about a third TV. That's for another day. Yes, Mrs. Horvath, in that short. Sure. Shirley, do you have a Spectrum question?
Yes, mine, the secondary has been off for weeks. When I spoke to them, they said, I said, why? And they said, I was receiving it. They said,
Illegally.
illegally.
Yeah, we get it.
And they're gonna turn it off and about it.
Yes. So Shirley, to your point, it's not been illegal. I was going to make a joke. It's flat out not illegal how we get services. They're very creative on their responses to why their things aren't working apparently. So I don't have an answer outside of we'll make a note if it hasn't already been that your second DTA box hasn't been working. And yeah, so we got you marked down. We'll add you to the list.
See, Tyler, why are we I mean, it would be a nightmare to change, but what made you choose Spectrum over like AT&T?
So the question is, why do we stay with Spectrum instead of AT&T? 2 is because this is a nightmare, and we know this nightmare as opposed to the unknown nightmare of AT&T. The other one is AT&T and the service, how they provide it to East Castle Place. There's a run that we would have to do. And yeah, appreciate it. If you want to go AT&T on your own, feel free. Because then you don't have to deal with my headache, but you're on your own for your headaches, unfortunately. All right, Spectrum, done. All right.
Regarding the containers.
Yes.
Okay, I'm getting some feedback that the soup containers are a problem. Okay, and if we can do some way to make sure that they're loosened a bit, but it's not so bad.
Yes. So the question, or more rather statement from Celeste, is the soup containers, the green soup containers, the staff sometimes tighten them, maybe a little too tight. I think the other issue is that heat transfer and the condensation and kind of that vacuum seal effect that goes between the heat and the cool is the other issue. So it's 2 things. Either we don't tighten the lids and we risk the soup going in the bag and you not having soup, or the secondary option is the soup is too tight and then you don't get soup anyway. The third option is hopefully to find that sweet spot for staff not to give us super tight. Otherwise, unfortunately, come downstairs and staff are able to help you unopen it. Celeste?
And when they are delivered, okay, if it's feasible for them to just, once it's up there, just.
Yeah, we could definitely work with staff. I know that when they're going out and delivering all the meals, they probably just give them a mode that they drop it and go on to the next. They're quite busy. But the question was if staff can drop the brown bag off and just untighten the lid ahead of that, knock on the door, then we will be good to go. So I'll talk to the staff and see what we can do. Joy?
I've had some success in running hot water over it.
Oh.
Very small stream for maybe a minute or 2.
Okay.
I think that's what's helping.
So Joanne may have a solution to that vacuum seal tight lid. She is running hot water over the lid